Hi, Lucy.
Hello, Diana.
Hi. Thank you so much for doing the interview with us. We really appreciate it.
Oh, of course. Thank you for doing it.
Well, yeah. What if film, The Darkness, obviously is coming out in theaters nationwide, May 13th. So if you could please
Yes.
tell us a little bit about your character.
So I play Stephanie, who's the older sister in the family, and her little brother has autism. And when they're in this camping trip in the desert, he brings stones back from a cave in the Grand Canyon, and with them he brings these spirits. And my character is going through her own inner crisis, I suppose, of feeling really deeply alone because her little brother needs a lot of attention, so she doesn't get any attention from her parents. And so she's kind of so desperate for connection and feels like she's almost wasting away in the family that she has this really intense eating disorder, which isn't just about how she looks. It's not just a superficial eating disorder. It's, almost like a physical representation of how she feels in the family, like there's no space for her. So she has this, and she has bulimia as well, and it's almost a cry and a plea to her parents to pay attention to her and to notice her in the family. And then as the spirits in the house kind of bring out the darkness within each character, she kind of keeps snapping faster and faster, and you can see that she has a real problem, and that it's. Oh, hello.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I thought something. I said a beat. Yeah, and that it gets heightened by the spirits.
Okay. And with such a very dark and demanding role, how did you prepare for it?
Well, I suppose that Greg, the director, was really, really brilliant at helping us on set to keep it quite bright and quite light and playful and open so that we could go into the darker stuff and then come out of it and feel safe to really go there. Mm-hmm. And I suppose in preparing for it, unfortunately, most women have some connection to an eating disorder or an understanding of it. And I remember how it felt and had to go through something not quite as extreme as Stephanie, but in high school and doing a series where I had a really tight-fitting costume and trying to keep my body fitting it and the lengths that I had to go to stay a certain shape as I was getting hips and becoming more womanly. And so I related to her feeling of, the pain and the frustration that she's going through and the way she's being so cruel to herself. And I, at that point, was really healthy, so I went on a lot of juice cleanses before we started filming, so I could feel that kind of emptiness in the body, and like how, when you're really small and take up less space, it kind of, there's a certain mentality that is around that, and I guess it was more about like physically preparing as opposed to mentally preparing, because with the physical preparation that feeds into the mental part of it, and I guess that feeling of longing and connection and with her family and feeling so far away from them, even though they're in the same room, it kind of that was really easy and accessible because Greg made the circumstances really open to it.
Okay, and so obviously throughout the movie we'll see how your character, is able to come through her own struggles. But you said personally you kind of experienced the same kind of the feeling of, working through eating issues. How did you yourself kind of pull yourself away from that pressure to a more healthy view?
I guess mine was never to that level. It was always, it's more just, and I think most women can relate to this, like an idea of how skinny I should be especially for the film industry or for this particular role that I was doing for 6 months. And you know, it's kind of more this like mental cage that I put around myself of like, oh, I can't get bigger than a certain size. And I wasn't unhealthy, but I wasn't being kind to myself. And to get through that, I guess it's like taken years of just learning to really love myself no matter what I am, and doing this 5 rhythm dance, which is, it sounds kind of strange and unrelated, but this dance where you kind of just really get into your body and feel love for your whole self, and it makes you really look at what's actually going on. And it was actually quite recently. It was in I was in Costa Rica, and I was doing this sort of painting project where I was painting women's bodies, and I was painting my own body and being photographed. Yeah, and as I was doing that project, I was being photographed as myself, and it was the first time I'd been photographed in something that was so vulnerable and real for me, in that like I had no defenses on. And I suddenly realized how, for like, ever since I started in this industry, I've had such a hyper awareness on the appearance and looking a certain way. And it suddenly made me realize how mean I had been to myself. And after that, I wrote my body an apology and saying sorry for the pressures that I've put you under and the circumstances that I've put you in just for the sake of appearance. And since then, I've been really gentle with myself and a lot more nourishing. And it's not that I'm eating differently. It's just that I'm mentally kinder. And I think that that's the key. Like, an eating disorder isn't necessarily about what you're eating, it's about what you're thinking about yourself and about your body. And that's what Stephanie, I guess, is going through, that it's not necessarily about how she looks, it's about how she feels invisible, and about how she's so desperate for connection, or to appeal to her parents, or to appeal to her friends. And it's so complicated and deep, and it was really great to have a chance to expose that, and I hope maybe give more empathy towards that situation, because it's not often that you get a chance to really go there in a film around an eating disorder and show it fully, because it's not pretty, it's pretty grotesque, and she feels quite grotesque inside. So it was really great to have a chance to go there, and I hope that it creates a sense of empathy, as opposed to people being repelled by it.
Right. Well, the depths of every character in this movie is just, it's really fantastic. But is that what kind of drew you to the role, that a little bit of a connection, or did you see something bigger in Stephanie?
Sorry, I missed the first part of that question.
Oh, is because of a little bit of a connection you have between you and yourself and your past experiences and the character, is that what drew you to the role?
To be honest, at that point, I was still not even aware of the way that I would mentally beat myself up about my body. I was still kind of in this state of denial. So when I read it, I kind of didn't relate it to myself initially. And then as I was going through it, preparing for the role, I kind of felt this like great relief to get to fully go there in the movie and really like expose it for what it is, and feel all of the grief and all of the pain and the shame around it. And so I think subconsciously it really drew me in, and even more because I was really healthy when I read the script, I had to kind of I decided to lose a bit of weight before we started filming. And that kind of, it was a really good release.
Awesome. Well, I've got one last question for you. Do you yourself have any upcoming projects in the works?
Yeah, I have a film, Mr. Church, is being released in May as well as the Wolf Creek series I shot in Australia is being released on May 12th.
Fantastic. All right, Lucy, thank you so much for your time. We definitely look forward to seeing this. Take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you for asking such great questions.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye.